What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. For those of you who don't know, my name is Chris Moore, and then today, let's go, boys. We're off to the dyno room. Green Lambo in the house. Anyways, enough about the Lambo. You know what you came here to see. That's the Built Motor 2022 Hayabusa project. Yeah, that's right, boys. It's on the dyno. We snaked you last time. This time, we're gonna unveil the numbers, show you what this thing got, and get more in depth on what we actually did to this thing. Alright guys, before we get into the dyno numbers, let's talk a little bit about what's done to this thing. So, as you know, 2022 Hayabusa, brand new, just came out. You cannot tune the factory ECUs yet. It's coming. I don't exactly know when. We're hoping by midsummer, let's just say June. But as of right now, we cannot tune them. So, the factory ECU sits right here. We have removed the factory ECU. HTP Performance has teamed up with Motec, and they have made a plug and play ECU swap, I guess you would say. This is a Motec M130. This is the ECU back here. In other words, we have a completely new ECU, and this is an adapter box that plugs into the factory wiring harness, and then it has a jumper harness that plugs in back here that gives us, that guy right there, BJ, the ability to do some tuning on it, and we can literally adjust any and everything on the bike. So, why do we need to adjust it? Yeah, that's right, guys. We swapped the motor out. This is the factory motor that we took and replaced the pistons, valve train, cylinder heads, everything, you name it, we did it. 4mm overbore on the piston, that's an 85mm piston. We got bigger camshafts, 427 cams, and we have the factory valve train with upgraded valve springs. With that, we went with a larger throttle body system. The throttle bodies have been bored. The throttle bodies are now, okay, so the factory throttle bodies on a Gen 3 Hayabusa are actually smaller than the ones on a Gen 2 Hayabusa. So that's one of the ways this bike was restricted from the factory, is it has extremely small camshafts and it has extremely small intake system. So we opened all that up, we made that bigger, we made the cams bigger, we made the throttle bodies bigger. Even though the throttle bodies are bigger, they're still only the same size now as they were, or as a Gen 2 is from the factory. So we got bored throttle bodies, even though they're only the same size as a stock Gen 2 throttle bodies. But we have opened this thing up and really let it breathe. We're revving it to 12,000 RPMs, where the factory rev limiter is 10.5, and it starts really shutting down at about 10,000. So we're able to rev this thing a lot farther, make a lot of power, and I think it's gonna go really fast. You can see Dunlop has hooked us up with a Q4 that we have got on here to try to get some good top speed runs out of this thing. Once we fix this bike and get it ready for the street, we're gonna do some top speed testing and see how aerodynamic this bike really is. Suzuki claims it's the most aerodynamic bike in the world, or we're gonna find out. We're gonna take it to the streets of Mexico and test it out. I think the gearing is there. I think the top speed is there with the aerodynamics, and we're gonna have the horsepower to go maybe 215, I don't know, we'll see, maybe more. We're gonna find out. Let's get this thing to the test right now and get some numbers on the dyno. We are fine-tuning and dialing in this bike. We're having to learn every single about it. Not only is this a brand new platform, meaning Gen 3 versus Gen 2 versus GSX-R 1000 versus ZX10, we're having to learn what this bike likes. This is also a new motor combination. I'm the first one to have this combination. So there's a lot of stuff for us to learn. So far, we're at 231.99 and 123.94 foot-pounds of torque. Our biggest thing that we're trying is what air-fuel ratio does it like and what fuel does it like. Currently, right now, we have it on MR12. We also did it on pump gas, and the thing made like 126 on pump gas. So far, it's not really liking the MR12. We may have too much octane for MR12. A lot of you don't know, but MR12 is a very low octane race fuel. It makes, what'd I say? Too much octane. I said we had too much octane. We got too much compression for not enough octane. Sorry about that. Correction, BJ. But anyways, our compression ratio of the engine itself needs more octane, we think. He's playing with different ignition timings, different air fuel ratios, just different things, finding what the motor is happy with. So far, I don't think MR12 is going to be the fuel for us. We're going to try something else here in a minute. Let's see what happens. All right, guys, so we are on fuel swaparoo number 2. We tried MR12, then we went to MRX02. Now we are on to Q16. MRX02 made not really any better, but not really any worse either. So we're trying to find the magic happy fuel for this thing to get these parameters set up. Let's see how Q16 does. Another thing we're trying is we took the bumper off. She's straight back now. So we're trying to see if the exhaust system is restricting the flow, holding the engine back. So let's see what happens. To death. It's not dead, but we have dynoed a lot. You see it's dark outside. Me and BJ have been here. We've literally turned every screw, pushed every button, and changed every combination we could change. We even put the stock velocity stacks back in it. Didn't like those. The HTP velocity stacks have proven to be the best so far. I got to put those back in, but I wanted to show you my final dyno numbers. Let's compare it to a stock motor, or basically this bike when it was stock. Made 184.60 and 107 foot-pounds of torque. Now we're at 233 and 125. Humongous gains. Look out here, 10,800 RPMs. We gained 55 horsepower, 55. Humongous gains, and not only that, it pulls way farther out. So overall, big big gains. Now you can see we do have the cams degreed pretty high here. In other words, the cam timing on the motor is set more for top end racing. So at low RPMs, 4 and 5,000, we actually lost horsepower. We're down a couple, about 10 horsepower, which is a good bit, but I told them to build it that way. In other words, we have got it degreed that way and set up because this is a short wheelbase bike. I don't want that. All right, guys, my GoPro died. We're videoing on the cell phone. Anyways, we got the Busa. We have every screw that you can turn on this thing. We've pushed every button. You can see it's dark outside. We're still here dynoing, but look at the gains we've come up with. This thing has turned out to be massive, humongous power gains over the stock bike. You can see we dynoed the stock bike at 184 horsepower and 107 foot-pounds of torque. We finished up with 233 and 125. At 10,800 RPMs, we gained 55 horsepower. Huge gains. We have got the cams degreed in the thing for all top-end power. You can see, I'll just show you on the screen there, that the thing actually lost a couple horsepower in the low RPMs, around 4,000, but up all to run, making all the top-end horsepower. You can see how it doesn't fall off any. Massive gains. Shout out to HTP Performance. They designed the velocity stacks. They designed everything, and I have put it back up to the stock stuff and tested it. I tested these velocity stacks. I tested the stock velocity stacks. I tested some other velocity stacks we have made. These have proven to be the best ones, and that's what got us that 233 horsepower. Like I said, what do you think? Comment in the comments below. Was this thing worth it? Gen 3 Hayabusa, straight street killer. We made 70 something dyno pulls overall, and the thing turned out to be the best on MR12 fuel. And on top of that, after all those dyno pulls, we did some of them 4 or 5 in a row, back to back to back. The thing never got above 185 or 190 degrees on the dyno. That is insane for a good, reliable street motor that you can ride any and everywhere you want to ride. Shout out to HTP Performance. They did the motor on this thing. And like I said, I am super happy with it. We ended up getting like 225 or 6 horsepower out of pump gas. So those are huge numbers as well for an everyday pull up at the gas station bike. That's going to do it for today's video. Please subscribe to the channel. We'll be taking this thing to the street soon to test out top speed on it. Half mile, quarter mile, all the stuff. We're testing it all out, guys. Stay with us. Subscribe to the channel. Click the bell for notifications. Check us out, moremafia.com. If you have any questions on any of this stuff, you can contact us there. Smash that like button. And as always, guys, we'll see you next time.